All right, for my 11 o'clock folks, I just gave y'all this belief quiz. This is the bedroom and the wallet quiz, the results that I had given you from last Friday's class. And I did promise that I was going to plot this for you. Basically, this is just a mathematical graph, and you've probably seen this in geometry or maybe even in some other classes. And you'll notice you've got a couple of lines up here. This horizontal line is actually the wallet line. And it's going to deal with pluses, obviously on this side, minuses on this side. So if you score on this half of the graph where you see your name and you see this plus here, basically means that you believe that government should, more often than not, regulate wallet issues. The closer you are to the center, the more moderate your beliefs are, and as you get further and further away, and we'll get into this, the more extreme your views are. If you scored on the left side of this line going this way, so you see your name somewhere mixed over into here, this generally means that you're going to believe that government should stay out of economic issues, but allow the individual to make decisions for himself or for herself. You'll notice here we've got the vertical line here. This is the bedroom line or the moral line. And the positives and the negatives are going to be basically just the same. If you scored above the horizontal line, then typically you're going to believe that government should regulate moral or bedroom type issues. And where you see the bulk of the names, if you scored below this line, then you typically believe that government should stay out of these moral or bedroom, these personal kinds of decisions. Now what I want to do is I want to get started by basically focusing on each of these four quadrants individually for a few minutes so that you've got a good sense of what it is that you are and maybe why it is that you agree with folks or disagree with folks. And I'm going to start down here in this bottom left-hand quadrant. If you fell in the bottom left-hand quadrant, you believe that the government should not regulate economic issues. You believe that the government should not regulate moral issues. You are what are known as my libertarians. Libertarians. Libertarians are an interesting breed. They typically are going to believe that the government that governs best is going to be the government that governs least. So when you think about it, libertarians aren't necessarily going to believe in excessive taxation policies. They're not going to believe in excessive or even average, say, social welfare programs. Libertarians actually do believe in the legalization of weed. That is something the government should not be involved in. So when you think about this, school prayer, gay marriage, these kinds, libertarians say the government's that's not their role. It's the individual's role to do this. Now what's interesting about libertarians is that while they believe that the government should stay out of economics and stay out of morals largely as much as possible, they create a system where the individual can rise or fall on his or her own merit. And the ideal is that everyone will succeed, and when they do, in fact, they're not going to need government help, and they're not going to be bothered by government on their journey. Problem is that not everybody succeeds. And when folks don't succeed, ultimately what you see is that libertarians are not going to agree or believe in helping them. So keep this in mind. Libertarians believe in the rise of the individual, the self-sufficiency of the individual, and ultimately, if necessary, the fall of the individual, and government is not going to get involved in those things, or it will get involved as minimally as possible. Now, as far as you that fell here, Leslie, Emma, Chris, Richard, and Matt Kay, all of you fell as libertarians on this. Now, notice up here, Leslie, you're actually really close to the origin. And I'll go ahead. This is effectively the center of the graph right here. The closer you are to the center, Leslie, you're actually very, very moderate. If you changed your answer to one, any one of these questions, you could have conceivably ended up in any of these four quadrants. You lean libertarian, but it really depends on the issue. You lean toward individual freedom, but there are some times in your view that basically government should help those that can't help themselves, and some moral decisions that in fact government should limit. Emma, Chris, and Richard, you all agree with Leslie in terms of economic issues. On 4 of the 7, you believe that government should stay out of economics, so you're very, very moderate there. The difference is in terms of the morals. Economic issues, you're moderate, but moral issues, you change. Emma and Chris, on 5 of the 7, you said government should stay out of individuals' moral issues, bedroom issues. Richard, on 6 of the 7, you said so. So Richard, while you're very close to Leslie in terms of economics, you are much stronger libertarian or anti-government in terms of moral or choice type issues. Matt Kay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You, Matt Kay, are actually on 5 of the 7, government should stay out of economics, a strong libertarian in that regard. On 6 of the 7, you said government should stay out of morals, which means you're even stronger in terms of those issues. Matt, you're actually the strongest libertarian, and it shouldn't be a surprise because just by drawing the line from the center here, you're quite obviously the furthest away, if you will, from the center of the graph. Now, up top, we're going to change this around a little bit, and as you get in, you'll notice that there's only 3 names in the upper left-hand quadrant: Ryan, Matt M., and David. You folks are actually going to believe that government should stay out of economic issues, just like the libertarians did. However, you're going to believe that government should regulate morals. If you fell in this upper left-hand quadrant, you 3, you folks are known as my conservatives, or in an American context, Republicans. Ryan and Matt M., you're just like Leslie was before. You change any one question and you could have ended up in any of the 4 quadrants, but you lean conservative. You believe, again, that government should stay out of the wallet, although 4 of 7, it depends on the issue. You believe that there are certain moral conducts that government should regulate, whether it be prayer, gay marriage, abortion, whatever. Again, more often than not, you believe that government should regulate those, so you're leaning conservative. David, you're not leaning. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. When you look at this, David, basically on 5 of the 7 questions, you said government should regulate morals. And on 5 of the 7 questions, you said that government should stay out of economic issues. You are just a good, solid conservative based on the results of these 14 questions. Again, regulating the morals and staying out of the wallet issues. Let's go down into the bottom left-hand quadrant down here, and this is actually where the vast bulk of the class is. Luis, Chris, Khadijah, Alex, Alejandro, Iris, Claudia, Jalissa, Lawrence, Amika, Sadig, Laman, and Shafat. You folks believe that government should regulate economic issues. And I guess the idea here is that if you believe in regulating economics, the idea is you don't want to have too few people that have too much. And the idea is that you want to make sure that everybody else has enough. So it's Robin Hood. You're going to take from the rich sometimes in order to give to the poor. With this said, though, you're going to believe in staying out of individual decisions, just like the libertarians, the individual moral or bedroom type decisions. So as you look at this, if you believe in regulating economics, and if you believe in staying out of the morals, you folks are what are known as my liberals. My liberals. Now looking at this, again, Luis, Chris, Khadijah, you change one question, you could be in any of these 4 quadrants. So you're moderate, but you're leaning liberal. If you come over here to Lawrence and Amika, both of you said on 5 of the 7 government should regulate economics, and 5 of the 7 government should stay out of moral issues. You're just good, solid liberals. Now where it starts to get crazier is when you get to Alejandro, Iris, and Claudia, or Sadig and Laman. Because looking at this, Alejandro, Iris, and Claudia, on 6 of 7 questions, you said regulate the money, regulate the wallet, take from the rich and give to the poor. Only on 4 of the 7, though, did you say, in fact, that you believe that an individual choice in terms of morals. So you 3 up here are actually very strong liberals on economic issues, but you're much more moderate on social ones. There are certain things that people should not be allowed to do. Sadig and Laman, you're a little bit different. On 6 of the 7, you said the government should stay out of morals. So with this in mind, you believe that what people do behind closed doors is their business and the government does not need to butt in to intrude on that. On only 5 of the 7, though, you said that the government should regulate economics. So y'all are both very, very strong liberals in terms of moral issues. You're good, solid liberals, just like Lawrence and Amika are, in terms of economic ones. Now there's a special case, and you can see this very obviously. Actually, there are several special cases, and let me go and get to the rest of the folks in here. Dear God, Michael, Thrift Shop, and Gabby, holy hell. All 3 of y'all said on 7 of 7 that government should stay out of moral issues. Gabby, Michael, Thrift Shop, you have no morals whatsoever. But that's okay, because liberals do not believe in these kinds of regulations. With this said, Gabby, oh my God, not only were you 7 for 7 as far as government staying out of morals, you were 7 for 7 in terms of the government regulating money. You got the perfect score on both. So if Lawrence and Amika are good, solid liberals, if Sadig and Laman are strong liberals in terms of moral issues, or if Jalissa is a strong liberal in terms of economics, my God, Gabby, you can't get any further away from the center than where you are right now. You are actually a very, very extreme liberal in this regard. And extreme liberals typically turn into what are known as communists. So if you get a question on the exam, who in class is most likely to be a communist? It's going to basically be Gabby in this regard. Now there's one last category up here, and this last category is going to believe in regulating everything. So, in this instance, if you believe that the government should regulate morals, if you believe that government should regulate economics, you are going to be what are known as my populists. Populists can be very good, and they can also be very, very negative potentially. The idea that a populist has is that they need to step in and help the little people help themselves. There are going to be people that don't know enough to be able to make the right economic decisions. There are going to be people that don't know enough to be able to make the right moral ones. So populists are basically going to say, we are going to help Joe and Jane Sixpack make decisions for themselves that frankly they would probably get wrong if they just made them for themselves. With this in mind, they're going to regulate things like the price of gas. They're going to regulate things like gay marriage or school prayer. They're going to spend money for people because the government is going to feel that it can spend money for them better than they can spend for themselves. Now, when you look at this, Peyton, Luce, and Kelsey, all of you fell into the populist category. And Peyton, you on 5 of 7 believed in regulating morals, so you're a good solid populist in terms of moral issues. You're very close to being Republican, in fact. Having said this, on 4 of 7 of these questions, you believe in regulating money. That actually makes you a little bit more liberal, and when you mix the best of liberal and the best of conservative in this instance, you come up with this populist idea. Kelsey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On 6 of the 7 questions, you believe that government should regulate economics. Well, only on 4 of the 7 did you believe that the government should regulate morals. So with this in mind, you're very moderate. It depends on the issue for morality issues. But Kelsey, in fact, in terms of wallet or economic issues, you're very, very strong as far as populists go. The problem with populists is that they begin to do good. And the more good that they do, the more good that they think they can do. And the danger is that they become dictators. Y'all really weren't radical enough to become dictators. But what I would suggest is that Luz, Kelsey, and Peyton, in fact, all 3 of you have assorted control issues with the peoples in your lives. And I'm kind of curious to see what you think about that when I talk to you the next time. So we said the extreme populist can be a dictator. The extreme liberal can be a communist. The extreme libertarian, haven't got to that one. If you're an extreme libertarian, you are actually what is known as an anarchist. Anarchists believe in the absence of government. Anarchists believe in the absence of government. And this sounds crazy. How can there be a society, or how can there be a situation where there's no working government? Well, that's actually international relations. The United Nations is not a world government. It's basically just there to prevent the next world war. So when you put this into context, these 200 and some odd countries that are in the world today have been living in a state of anarchy forever. And in fact, if you look at it, it hasn't necessarily worked out all that bad. Not perfect, but not necessarily all that bad. And then the last one up here. If you're an extreme version of a conservative, you can become what is known as a Nazi. Now again, I'm not saying that conservatives are Nazis, but what I am going to suggest to you is that when you go back and you look at old Hitler in Germany, what you end up seeing back there is that the Germans, they regulated you to the inch, within an inch of your life oftentimes. And if they told you to do something, your only question was how high if they said jump. It wasn't anything else, because you'd probably get imprisoned or killed. With this in mind, if you followed the instructions in old Nazi Germany, you could become very, very wealthy. You could do very, very well for yourselves. So with this in mind, that is regulating moral decisions, and that is staying out of economic or wallet ones. Good luck on Friday's exam, and please just let me know if you have questions.